Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, The Basic Steps to Starting a Business in New Mexico. My name is Christopher Garcia, and I'm the Business Development Specialist at the SBDC at UNM Valencia campus. We are going to wait just a minute until everybody gets in the webinar. Okay, everybody, welcome to the webinar. I see our attendees have streamed in. It's the basic steps to starting a business, and you will receive a follow-up email in about 5 minutes. I like to send it out early because we go over a lot of things on it. And in fact, let me send you out a link so you could view it on your web browser right now if you'd like. So I'm going to chat that over to everyone. And feedback's always appreciated, so you tell me if that's working for you. Before we begin, let's go over some webinar ground rules. Everybody on the call right now is muted, so don't worry about background noise. Only I have to worry about background noise, and in fact, that's what I was dealing with just a second ago. There's a feature to raise your hand, and I'll use it throughout the webinar to make sure everything's flowing. In fact, if you could see the slides and hear me, can you raise your hand for me? Let's see. Oh, I think almost everybody could hear me. Thank you. I'm going to lower everybody's hand. And then I have the Q&A feature enabled. So if you have a question about any of the slides, please put it into the Q&A. And just to make sure the Q&A is working, can you put a hi, hello, how are you into the Q&A for me, please? Hi, Nancy. Hello, Margarita. Hi, Philip. Hi, Diana. Hey, Don. Don Bustos is our director at our Las Vegas Center. Nice to have you on with us. Good day, Pauline. Hi, Asan. Hi, Yaharia. Hello, David. Hello, good morning, other David. Hi, Clarissa. Hello, Douglas. Hi, Monica. And hello again, Don. Nice to see you on. So I have, I'm Confident that everybody on the call could use the Q&A. I have one phone caller, so I will, at the end of the presentation, open it up so the phone caller could ask us any questions. Here's a graphic of our center locations throughout New Mexico, and the mission of the SBDC is to build skilled entrepreneurs and strong businesses by offering no-cost confidential business consulting and no or low-cost training events like this one. And I'll tell you more about the SBDC in the next few slides. Before we move on, I want you to notice the powered by the SBA at the bottom of the screen. A lot of people confuse us with the Small Business Administration, but they are a funder of ours. We are an arm of them, and we don't lend directly, neither do they. And if you have questions about SBA loans, we could answer those in the Q&A. And I got some feedback. Don Bustos on the call is actually the education specialist for the city of Las Cruces, but we have another Don Bustos in our network. So Don, I'm happy to have you, no matter what your title is. Perfect, let's move on. This slide includes 3 topics for some upcoming webinars. In fact, we're going to do QuickBooks Online next month on, I believe it's the 6th and the 12th. And that one's filling up fast. So if you want to attend that, it's with the director from our Clovis Center, Dr. Sandra Taylor Sawyer, and she always does a great job with that. We're going to have a cybersecurity course next month, and we're going to repeat the basic steps next month. So you're welcome to join us for as many webinars as you please. And here's the agenda for today's training. I'm going to tell you more about the SBDC, talk to you about our pre and post surveys for the training, get into the basic steps, review and demonstrate our excellent research tools, and then I'll do the Q&A at the end. I might also have you raise your hand during the presentation. In fact, I like to see where everybody's coming from on the call today. So would you raise your hand for me if you're coming from central New Mexico, so maybe the Albuquerque metro area? Very good, I have quite a few. That's where I'm at. I'm actually in Los Lunas at the Small Business Development Center at UNM Valencia campus. So thanks for joining us. How about west New Mexico? So maybe the Farmington area. Oh, thank you for joining us all the way from there, Philip. How about the northeast? So the Clayton area. Oh, welcome, Pauline. Thanks for joining us. How about the southwest? So maybe the Boot Hill of New Mexico, Silver City area, maybe Deming. Perfect. We almost have all of New Mexico represented. How about southeast? So maybe Lovington, Hobbs area. Perfect. I think we have all of New Mexico with us today, so thank you very much for joining me. Open up my participants. Q&A. Make sure that's there. Perfect. Now let's talk more about the services of the SBDC. We offer 2 major services: confidential business consulting and low or no-cost business trainings like this one. There are no limits to how much no-cost counseling you can receive. And we have centers throughout New Mexico, so there'll be one close to you. If you look at the graphic in the upper right-hand corner, it shows what we do: renew, grow, launch, and start up small businesses. This slide shows what we expect from our clients. My fellow business advisors and center directors want you to succeed, so you'll be assigned homework or further research. So please do the work necessary to succeed. We can't make decisions for you or offer tax or legal advice. We could only connect you to the information you need to make educated decisions. And part of making educated decisions is working with licensed professionals like attorneys and accountants to obtain the best advice. Next, I want to remind you about important surveys we send out as part of attending these trainings. Everyone who registered for this webinar received an email from me saying, in anticipation of the upcoming basic steps to starting a business in New Mexico event you have registered for, We would like to collect some preliminary information from you. With this information in hand, we can tailor the course material to better fit your needs. So just by a show of hands, how many of you did the pre-webinar survey? Perfect. I'm seeing a lot of hands. Thank you for that. If you didn't receive it, please check your spam, your junk, or your clutter folders, because it may be hidden in there. And I want to remind you, you'll receive a survey after this event to rate the workshop. So please do both. Very good. Now let's talk about starting a business in New Mexico. Before going into our steps, there's some important things to consider. Will you make enough money to live? Will this replace your current income? Do you need the benefits offered by your current employer, like retirement plans, medical insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance, disability insurance, life insurance, or other important benefits? Can you replace those benefits by starting your business? You must also think about your educational background and skills. Do you have the correct educational background and skills to operate the many facets of a business, including bookkeeping, accounting, human resources, supply chain management, sales, and that's just to name a few. If not, you might need to hire somebody to perform these tasks or obtain further training, and we could point you in the right direction. And we have a great document on our website called Test Your Potential as an Entrepreneur. I'm going to show it to you via our follow-up email. So this is the link I sent out. And this is what our follow-up email looks like. And all the links I'm covering in the slides will be there. So here's Test Your Potential as an Entrepreneur. And it's a survey of the different skills you need to have in order to be a good entrepreneur. Then we have some myths and misconceptions about entrepreneurship, identifying startup ideas, feasibility analysis, which I enjoy, estimating the cost of startups, and we have our own proprietary software for creating startup projections. It's called the South Dakota spreadsheet or the South Dakota model. And this is a great guide, but the South Dakota model actually creates 3 to 5 years of income statements, cash flow analyses, and balance sheets for our projected budget. Personal living expenses, if you do apply for an SBA loan, they will ask you, or any type of small business loan, they will ask you for your personal expenses. And you want to make sure these personal expenses are covered when you start a business. Here's some business operating costs, which are great talking points for our projection spreadsheet, a recap of costs, and the article on which this webinar is based, the basic steps to starting a business. And then here's a sample business plan outline, but I'll give you more options as we go on in the webinar. Talks a little bit about marketing and the supporting documents you'll need, especially if you're applying for an SBA type loan, and questions that you should answer in a business plan, a marketing plan outline, questions to be answered in the marketing plan, and it goes on and on and on. So that's a great basic document for everybody on the call today. Let me go back to our slides. And we'll get into the basic steps. So now let's go through the steps one by one. And these slides are in that follow-up email. I scheduled it to go out to everybody on the call 5 minutes after we began. So it should be in your inbox. Make sure to check your spam, clutter, junk folders, because sometimes they get hidden in there. And I chatted out the link. Let me chat it out one more time for anybody who didn't get that link already. And you could access that email I just showed you via that link. Step one is defining the business. And this is the who, what, when, where, why, and how. And these questions are answered in a business plan. And if you need a business loan, you must provide this to a lender. Many centers use a fill-in-the-blank business plan template. And let me show you that in the follow-up email. Move it to my screen here. And here is the SBDC at UNM Valencia business plan template. And this is a fill in the blank template. And I think it's the most comprehensive and easy to use template that I've seen. And you could put together a very quick and thorough business plan with it. It's about 21 pages, but it's fill in the blank, so it should go fairly fast. And that's available for you on that follow-up email. But there are more options for you for creating a business plan. There are things like online software such as LivePlan. SBA.gov has a great training with worksheets, and that link is also on that email. And there are a lot more tools available at nmsbdc.org. I also want to point you towards the Economic Development Department's one-stop website for starting a business. That's that gonm.biz. And this website's a partnership between the New Mexico agencies you must contact when starting a business. And I actually want to show you the programs available to you right now that would pertain to a new business. So let me put the gonm.biz. And that takes us to the Economic Development Department's website right here. And if you navigate to business resources and then EDD programs for business, you'll see that they have a listing of different programs available to you. Most of us are interested in finance development, so let's go over some programs in there. So the first program I want to talk to you about is the LEDA program, or the Local Economic Development Act. And what the Local Economic Development Act is it allows the state of New Mexico to put aside a pot of money to award to municipalities to support job growth and business development in those areas, mostly rural areas of New Mexico. Your project should have a significant community impact and support, be in a rural and underserved area of New Mexico, have increased wages and job creation. Again, the goal is job creation, have significant new capital investment, and have environmentally sustainable outcomes. And what they help you fund is really infrastructure for putting that business into that underserved area. And some of the entities that qualify, it's an industry for the manufacturing, processing, or assembling of agricultural or manufactured products, a commercial enterprise for storing, warehousing, distributing, or selling products of agricultural, mining, or having been manufactured, or an economic-based employer, which is defined as what an economic-based employer is. It's an employer who makes most of their money from out of the state. And if you're in manufacturing, agriculture, value-added agriculture, this is a great program for you. If you want to start maybe a storefront in a rural area, they could help you pay for things like infrastructure in a new building. Maybe there's not a road built to your facility. Maybe they could help you with that sort of infrastructure. And you have to apply for this program before you get started. And it works on a reimbursement basis. So you have to come up with the money and then they'll reimburse it for you. And they usually put you on a 5-year contract. And in that 5-year contract, you have to keep a certain amount of jobs and a certain type of jobs. So if that's a program that you think would work for you, you could either reach out to your local SBDC or the Economic Development Department, and they could give you more information on that one. The next program I want to talk to you about is the Collateral Assistance Program. So a lot of people on the line might want to start a business, but they need a business loan. And to get a business loan, you usually have to put up 100% collateral on that loan. So a home, a car title, something like that. And if you don't have the collateral you need, which many people just starting off a business don't, the state of New Mexico could help you by taking out a financial instrument to guarantee a loan. And they only work with a handful of lenders. These are the lenders they work with. But if you are a good candidate for the program, just don't have the collateral to back up that loan, these lenders can work with you and work with the program to get you a loan. And then the last program I want to talk to you about are opportunity zones. And what opportunity zones are there zones in New Mexico zoned as under poverty areas that have the potential to be developed. And if you want to buy a building or land to start a business in one of these opportunity zones, which are the zones outlined in orange or yellow, you could apply through an opportunity fund, and the opportunity fund could fund up to 80% of that building or land purchase. And where the opportunity fund gets their money from, they get their money from individuals or businesses that want to defer the payment of capital gains taxes. Instead of paying the IRS what they owe in capital gains taxes, they could invest in an opportunity fund, and they won't have to pay those capital gains taxes until they sell their investment in an opportunity fund. So it's a way to get private money into small businesses in these underserved areas. So if you're interested in these programs, put that information in the Q&A and we could go into them further after the slides. So let's go to our slides. And let's move on to step 2. So step 2 is choose a business name. And there are legal considerations when choosing a business name. And it's very important to find a name that resonates with your target market, looks good on websites, social media, business cards, and other marketing material, is easy to spell and pronounce, and isn't trademarked or copywritten by another business. For example, there was a restaurant in Albuquerque called Dee's Cheesecake Factory. And if you grew up in Albuquerque, this was probably one of your favorite places for lunch or a sweet treat. The owners of Dee's Cheesecake Factory started the business after World War II and trademarked the name in the state of New Mexico. Fast forward to about 2010, there was a national chain called The Cheesecake Factory that wants to do business in New Mexico, but they could not operate a restaurant with Cheesecake Factory in the name because the savvy business owners at Dee's reserved the business name many years before. In this example, the small business had the upper hand, but you could imagine how a small business operating under a trademarked business name could end up being sued, have to change their business name and all their expensive marketing material, and it might actually destroy a new business. There are 2 types of trademarks. There's a state and a federal. The first website on the screen is for the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and the second is for the New Mexico Secretary of State's office. These are the 2 agencies responsible for registering trademarks. Since we can't provide legal advice, it's important for you to consult with an attorney before making a decision on a business name. And I'll show you some great resources later in our presentation, including the newest member of our team, the Technology Commercialization Accelerator, that provides no-cost counseling related to intellectual property like trademarks. And they could help you research trademarks. Step 3 is choosing and registering your legal business structure. The legal structure of your business is its foundation, and you must carefully consider how you wish to legally operate your business. The common business structures are on the slide. Everything but sole proprietorships and partnerships must be registered with the New Mexico Secretary of State's office. So that's sole proprietorships and partnerships. And the paperwork is available solely online. More information about legal structures can be found in the document called Basics of Choosing a Business Entity on our website. And let me show it to you on the follow-up email. So here's the follow-up email, and here is the Basics of Choosing a Business Entity. And this document goes through the types of law under which you're governed as a business owner. It talks about what is a limited liability, what is a sole proprietorship, what is a partnership, and it gives you some advantages and disadvantages. When you decide what type of business structure you want to create, the paperwork is pretty straightforward, and your local SBDC could help you one-on-one with that. I had a question before our webinar about setting up a basic limited liability company. So let me go and show you where the paperwork for that is, because it's basically 2 pieces of paper that you fill out online, and you could have it in about a week. So here's the Secretary of State's office. And if you go to online resources and business portal, the forms to create an LLC are under the, you have to create a login and then you could access the forms to create an LLC. So since I did get that question before our webinar, I'm going to chat this website out to everybody. It's the portal. So that's your first step in creating the paperwork you need to get a limited liability company started. And now that we're having fun talking about paperwork, let's talk about step 4, which is to obtain your federal employer identification number. And this is the unique identification number issued to your business by the IRS and is used on all federal filings. If you're a sole proprietor or partnership, you typically use your social security numbers instead of an EIN. This number is just as important as a social security number, and it should be protected just like your social security number. And no matter what business entity you choose, it's a good idea to obtain this number, and it's required to open up a business bank account in most banks and credit unions. And you'll need it if you have employees, because that's the number that you use to pay your federal payroll withholdings to the IRS. That one's a bit complicated thing to think about. So if you have more questions about it, put those in the Q&A and we can get to those. Continuing with our paperwork requirements, step 5 is to register with the New Mexico Taxation and Revenue Department to obtain a gross receipts tax ID number. They used to refer to these as a CRS ID. They commonly call them BTINs now, or business taxpayer identification numbers. And if gross receipts tax is a new term for you, you might recognize it as the tax you pay whenever you buy goods or services in New Mexico. It's usually around 8% and it shows up at the bottom of a receipt. The online registration form to complete, to apply for your gross receipts tax ID is available at the tap.state.nm.us website. And it's a little tricky, so I'm going to open up that website. Hopefully it opens up for me. This is what it looks like. And you might think, create a logon. You might think that's where you would click to apply for your gross receipts tax ID. It's not. You got to navigate to the bottom of the page under businesses. And then there's an option to apply for a New Mexico business tax ID. If you go this route, you'll be kicked out and you'll be sent over here. So don't waste your time and take the correct route to begin with. Again, if you need help, technical assistance with any of this paperwork, you could reach out to your local SBDC office and we'd be happy to help you. Step 6 is to obtain your local business license and other applicable licenses. When doing business in New Mexico, you need a business license in the municipality or county where you will physically conduct business. For instance, Tio Filo's restaurant has a physical presence in Los Lunas, so they get a Village of Los Lunas business license. If they had a food truck and did business in Belen, Los Lunas, and unincorporated parts of Valencia County, they would need to obtain a full or temporary business license wherever they're going to have a physical presence. And some of you might be thinking you'll do business online or in another state. And this means getting a business license in any place where you'll physically conduct commerce. Each municipality or county has different requirements for obtaining a business license. So check with your municipal or county offices or consult with an attorney or an accountant for further advice. And for instance, the City of Rio Communities asks you to sketch a floor plan of your business, even if it's a home-based business out of your garage or a spare bedroom. They still want you to sketch that floor plan. And the Socorro County doesn't have a formal business licensing process. They just have a letter on their website that says, if you want to start a business in Socorro County, please get your gross receipts tax ID before you start business. An important item you must obtain before you apply for a business license is your gross receipts tax ID number. So make sure you do that before you even consider getting a business license. Step 7 is to report new hires to the New Mexico directory. The link to the directory is on the slide, but this brings up human resources considerations. Human resources is a very important part of any business and comes with many legal and accounting considerations. You can always consult with an accountant or an attorney for specific information, but I included links to 2 good resources for learning more about employment procedures and laws. Our partners at Comply Right have a great blog with lots of resources for small business owners about fair hiring practices, top 10 questions you should ask when conducting an interview, things like that. And the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC, has a learning center for small businesses. And the EEOC is the government agency that protects people in employment in protected classes, and that's creed, color, religion, some cases sexual orientation, things like that. So before you mess up any of those hiring practices, get the information you need to adhere to as a small business owner, because that's a legal landmine, and the more information you get before you actually go into business, the better. And there's another website that's really good, and I think I'm going to talk about it on the next slide, which is the Department of Workforce Solutions website for business owners. Keeping with the HR trend, step 8 is if you have employees, you may need to complete Form ES 802. And this is a required form from the New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions or Connections. The Department of Workforce Solutions has many services, tax credits, and learning opportunities for small business owners. So I included their business outreach website on the slide. And some common services of the Department of Workforce Solutions are job postings, pre-employment screenings, like typing tests, and in some cases they provide space to conduct interviews, say if you don't have a formal storefront for your business. Let's go to this website. Cross our fingers and hope it opens from the slides. We're cooking today, we're doing good. Let me close my other windows, see if we could load the site. So this is what their business website looks like. And if you're going to have employees, you need to visit this website and make sure you're adhering to all the regulations from the Department of Workforce Solutions. They have a handbook for unemployment insurance. They have resources for posting an internship opportunity, a whole information section on starting a new business. They offer apprenticeship programs, AmeriCorps. These are like volunteers. They have the job description writer. So if you're going to write a job description, they have tons of them written already. Just go to the job description writer and make your job a whole lot easier. They have hiring incentives. So for instance, if you wanted to hire somebody who you have a retail store, you want to hire somebody who might have a shoplifting conviction, a larceny conviction in their past, and everybody deserves a second chance. So just to make it a little bit more secure for you to hire somebody, maybe with a felony, they offer bonds through the Department of Workforce Solutions. They also have tax credits, mainly for hiring veterans, but they have they've historically had credits for things like hiring people who've just graduated from a community college in New Mexico, people who have just aged out of the foster care system, and things like that. And of course, the biggest push to get to your Department of Workforce Solutions is they post the jobs for you, and they help fill and recruit for those jobs. Wage and hour. So if you were to go to Comply Right, I mentioned that website earlier, that they're a for-profit business that helps small businesses comply with human resource concerns. But they offer something called Poster Guard or something like that. The Department of Workforce Solutions has all the required wage and hour and human resource postings you need for your business. So before you jump into one of those programs, take a look here first. So that's mainly what I wanted to cover with you. Let's go to our next slide. Step 9 is if you have employees, seek the assistance of an accountant or bookkeeper. You can see all the tax acronyms on the screen. Let's see. SUDA, FUTA, FIT, SIT, FICA. And if you aren't willing or able to deal with these, because these all have reporting requirements. Some of them are quarterly, some of them are monthly, and then there are yearly reporting requirements. So it gets a little hectic, especially if you're both managing the day-to-day of your business and the bookkeeping. So make sure you know what's involved and make sure you can comply with it. I have a link on the screen for the IRS Small Business Tax webinar. Let's see if it opens. My browser is not supported any longer. So let me open up a Chrome browser. And then let's go to, I just type in IRS Small Business Tax Center. And I go to the irs.gov link, and it's the Small Business Self-Employed Tax Center. And let me chat out this link to everybody on the call right now. Let me get my chat open. And if you have any questions about your tax liability as a small business owner or a self-employed individual, independent contractor, or something like that, this is the first place you want to visit. And remember, this is the federal side of your taxes. You also have the state side, but anything federal is located here. And under online learning and small business virtual tax workshop, it's a little hokey pokey, you know, they're not actors at the IRS, remember, but it's a great webinar, wealth of information. And before you go into business, it's a webinar I truly urge you to attend. And it's on demand. You could listen to it anytime. And if you're not going to have employees, you could probably just get away with the first 4 lessons. So let's go back to our slides. And step 10 is to seek the assistance of an attorney. We talked about some important legal landmines in starting and operating a business, and attorneys are licensed to answer those questions. So the New Mexico Bar Association used to have an attorney referral program. They no longer do that, but they still have the New Mexico Bar Attorney Directory. My link is broken, or I'm using a bad web browser. Let me see. One of the two. The link is on the follow-up email, and it's statebarsbnm.org. That loads. Let me take a sip of my lemonade. And under for the public, find an attorney. And let me copy and paste that link into the chat for everybody on the call right now. If you need an attorney for your business or for any other matter in your life, this is a great place to visit. Under find a lawyer, this is a tricky little database. So I only use practice areas and practice counties. So if I'm looking for an attorney who practices business law in Bernalillo County, I could put those 2 things in and search. And it gives me a listing of those attorneys who practice business law in Bernalillo County. They may not be located in Bernalillo County. You see this one's Boulder, looks like Boulder, Colorado, Dallas, Texas, but they do state to the Bar Association that they practice law here. And you could go into a profile. Let's pick one at random. Mr. Guy Bluff, and he practices in administrative law, ADR, mediation, arbitration, civil litigation, business incorporations, litigation, and trial practice. Gives you his email address, his phone numbers, his business address, so you could easily find the type of lawyer you need quickly. They also have a section in here for patent and trademark, which is intellectual property. That would be somebody who you'd want to contact for getting a federal trademark on a business name. They also have a wealth of information on the United States Patent and Trademark website, and you could decide whether or not you need an attorney for that, or reach out to your local SBDC and we could guide you in the right direction. or the Technology Commercialization Accelerator, of course. I have a link here for the New Mexico State University Patent and Trademark Library. If you want to research a trademark or patent, the NMSU has the grant that sponsors the Patent and Trademark Resource Center. David Irvin is a database wizard, and he could help you look up these patents and trademarks if you need help with them. And their services are offered at no cost. And he could meet with anybody all in the state via Zoom or whatever they use at NMSU. So reach out to him. And then our newest member of the SBDC is the New Mexico Tech TCA, or the Technology Commercialization Accelerator. I have their contact information at the end of the slideshow, but I'll copy and paste it, copy and paste it into the chat now, because I really enjoy working with Stefanita Rawlings at the TCA. She is also a database wizard, and she could give you the information you need to get a patent or trademark, or research a business name, research a business logo, and see if your business name or logo might be available for trademark. Let's return to our slides. We're almost there. Step 11 is to review the guidelines for compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. This is a big legal landmine for small businesses, especially for those who have a storefront or have employees. So this information should be carefully considered. They have many resources on their website. And in fact, they have a primer for small business. And let me tell you, there are people who make their living suing small businesses based on ADA compliance. So before you go into a storefront, before you hire employees, make sure you're complying with the ADA. And they have a primer right here for you. So take a look at that primer. Step 12 is to establish a business bank account. It's a best practice to keep your personal and business finances separate. And this makes your bookkeeping processes easier, especially if your business ever experiences an audit. And there's more than just a tax audit, you guys. There's a gross receipts tax audit through the state of New Mexico. And let me tell you, you don't want to get, you want to be in compliance with the state of New Mexico. There's numerous types of tax audits. So make sure you have your business bank bookkeeping and bank account in good standing and good working order. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or the FDIC, has a curriculum for small business owners that they offer at no cost. In fact, let me open it up. It's called FDIC Money Smart for Small Business. And this is basically the webinar I'm doing today with the steps, but they have whole webinars on each step. So is owning a business a good fit for you, planning for a healthy business, and the banking services available for small businesses is a great one, because the banking services available for small businesses are different than those for the individual. It's good to know what you need to do to get in good standing with the bank as a business owner. Goes more in depth into the types of organizations. So like that question I got about how should I start an LLC? Should I start a different type of business structure? This goes into more narrative on each of those structures. They have time management tips, financial management, record keeping, strong business credit, which is another great one, because business credit is developed differently than individual credit, and it involves getting a DUNS number. If you have questions about that, put them in the Q&A. I'll be happy to go into them further. I usually leave about 30 minutes for Q&A because this webinar has so much information. I encourage you guys to ask questions. Insurance for small business, I think that's my next step. And this goes into a whole curriculum about it. Tax planning and reporting, selling your business and succession planning, managing cash flow, which is one of the best things a small business owner could learn. And this is the presenter's guide, but these are all the guides for the individuals wanting to take the program. But I love this program. I hope all of you could take it, and I hope we could offer it one day through the Small Business Development Center. And lucky step number 13, our final step, is have adequate business insurance coverage. The slide shows the common types of business insurance coverage, and I recommend you research your options with an independent insurance broker. Oftentimes, independent insurance brokers sell insurance for many different companies, and they tend to be less biased when providing you with business insurance. You could learn more about business insurance by visiting the link on the slide. It's for Hitchcock's Insurance Company's blog, and Hitchcock's Insurance is the largest small business insurer in the nation. Again, my web browser is out of date. Let's see here. If we could open it up in Chrome. And they have great videos. What is small business insurance? What is general liability insurance? And what is professional liability insurance? And they have some resources just for the SBDC because they are a sponsor of our ASBDC conference. You don't have to buy insurance from them. You're not obligated to buy anything from them to look at their free resources. But again, those resources are good. And I always recommend going with an independent insurance broker because they tend to be small business owners as well. Okay, so we got through all the basic steps to starting a business. I'm going to open up the Q&A before we get into our research tools, because that takes me about another 20 minutes to cover. So if anybody has questions about the slides we just covered, feel free to ask your questions now. Our call-in listener, I'm going to allow you to talk, but you are muted. I believe to unmute, it's *6. So if you have a question, feel free to chime in at any time. The rest of our attendees, if you want to speak, raise your hand and I'll open up your mic. If you want to type in your question, you're more than welcome to. Nancy asks, will this webinar be recorded? Yes, we are recording right now, and I'll email the link to you when it's on YouTube. And if you go to our YouTube channel now, there's previous recordings of this same webinar. I try to be consistent in the webinar, so any webinar, any of the recordings you see should go over the same material. So I type in NMSBDC YouTube channel. And then I go to, not that one. So I go to it by going to the basic steps and then clicking on our little icon.
SBDC New Mexico, our mission.
Let me chat over the link to our YouTube channel for everybody. And if you missed one of our past webinars, most of them are available for you to see. We have all of these webinars right here. David asked, where is the business plan template? So let's bring up the follow-up email link. I'll chat over that link again, but you should receive it. Check your junk email if you didn't. I believe the subject is thank you for joining us. And on that email, the SBDC at UNM Valencia business plan templates right here. The SBA has a lesson on business plans, and they also have a learning center. And then they have a Cent for Women, which is a small business development program centered towards female entrepreneurs. If you're a male entrepreneur, take it anyway because it's really good information. Just I don't know if you'd be invited to the networking opportunities. But let's look at the Learning Center here. And the first set of courses they offer is Plan. And they have a whole course on how to write a business plan. And I took this as part of my professional development. It's a really good course. They're about, I don't know, they say 34-second videos. They feel more like 5-minute videos to me. And then they have what a balance sheet should look like, what a cash flow sheet should look like, and what an income statement should look like. So those are two great resources for you. Margarita asked, I can't copy and paste the links in the chat. You know, that happens to me sometimes too. I did email everybody the follow-up email. It should have come to you about 11:35. And all those links are available there, but I'm sorry, Margarita, that does happen sometimes on these webinars. Are those hyperlinked in your presentation? The hyperlinks in the presentation? You know, they don't work for me. That's why I created that email, Margarita, with all the links. But yeah, I think the links in the presentation will work for you. And that was sent in the follow-up email. Yaharia asked, how do you know if you need insurance for a company? I'm going to school to get my accounting degree and I want to have my own business. For your particular situation, you would need professional liability insurance and probably general liability insurance for your business. That's what's typical for professionals like accountants, attorneys, service providers. But the best way to know is to visit the Hitchcock's Learning Center, learn more about what those insurances are, or consult with an independent insurance broker, and they could help you decide what types of insurance you need for your business. If you have employees, you'll definitely need unemployment insurance and maybe workers' comp. Nancy asked, she says, I'm starting a very small practice for mental health therapy. I feel a little lost with how to proceed. I'm working on my business plan right now. Are there any steps I could begin, or should these steps, or should you do these steps in order? You should probably do these steps in order. If you're going to need financing for your business, Nancy, you need to prepare a business plan and financial projections. And we have that great software for preparing financial projections, the South Dakota spreadsheet or the South Dakota model. So your first step I recommend is meeting with an SBDC advisor and scheduling regular meetings to go over your business plan and financial projections. Margarita says, no problem, thanks. Thank you, Margarita. Nancy says, I clicked on the link and it opened a new page, then save as a bookmark. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Nancy, but if you want to raise your hand, I could always unmute you. Margarita says, I have a very different type of mobile business. I don't know exactly what category to have it fall under. Who could I talk to? You? Not a simple explanation, needs a bit of time to explain. Margarita, visit your local SBDC or email me after this and schedule a meeting and we could talk about it further. And if you need to know how to get in touch with your local SBDC, visit nmsbdc.org and go to locations and then select the location nearest you. For example, here I'm in Los Lunas, and then you could see my direct contact information on the screen, and it's best to contact directly. Nancy asked, what is the typical timeline to complete all these steps? So here on that follow-up email, I have the quick start guide. And what on this quick start guide, the basic steps to getting the paperwork done for your business is, select your business structure. And if you need to register it with the Secretary of State, that will take, I would say, a week. After you get your business name is fine. You get your LLC documents or your corporate documents. You could apply for a federal employer identification number. This is free to apply for, and you get that immediately. Then you need to get your gross receipts tax ID number. I've had clients say that they've gotten their certificate with their tax ID number immediately. Others have had to wait a week or so. Others just don't know what happened there. So plan on 2 weeks for that. And then you need to get a business license anywhere where you'll physically conduct commerce. If you're a home-based business and you travel to people, you would need a temporary or full license anywhere where you'll physically be located. And that could take a while. So in Los Lunas, the village of Los Lunas has a lot of staff. They usually do the business licenses quickly. If you were going into a small town like Socorro, you were in Peralta, New Mexico, it could take up to a month to get a business license in those areas. So I would say maybe a month to get all the paperwork you need. But to prepare a business plan, I would say another month. If you had to do that, funding could take up to 2 months. So just giving you some insights there. Clarissa says, can I apply for Lita as an RV park? I think we talked about it at our last meeting, but it's still included. So Clarissa, you can. Well, this one's difficult, Clarissa. You might not qualify under the terms you need to follow for being a manufacturer or an agriculture. So I don't think they would consider you, but it never hurts to ask them. And I remember when we spoke, you wanted to put in infrastructure into that RV park, and that's what they're good at. You would have to contact them and really know what kind of jobs you would hire for. And if those jobs fit into the categories they're looking for, I think Lita would be a good bet for you. So yeah, you can. You could at least apply. They could always say no. And Nancy asks, is there a business license to visit clients? So Nancy, business licenses are handled in the county or the municipality. They're not handled on the state level. So you have to make sure you know exactly what municipalities or counties you're going into and apply for those licenses there. There's not one for the whole state. And then Nancy says, sorry, I was just wondering if a client requested to visit in the home. So if you apply for a business license, Nancy, it depends where you're applying for that business license. So a place like Albuquerque would probably say, no, we don't want traffic to the home. We're not going to give you we won't give you the business license to operate that business in your home. Typically, they don't like signage or people going onto the people's residential property. They would want you to get a commercial property or apply for conditional use of the home. And applying for conditional use of the home, Nancy, is a bit of a uphill battle, especially if you're in a smaller town. Maybe a smaller town might be easier than a place like Albuquerque or Las Cruces, but it would just depend on the regulations in your municipality where your home's located. So I've seen people get these conditional uses of the home in places like Valencia County, Los Lunas, Bosque Farms, but it's harder if you're in a more metropolitan area. Clarissa asks, I'm an LLC, but not yet conducting businesses. Do I need to get a business license and CRS number yet, or wait until we're closer to opening? I would say wait until you're closer to opening, Clarissa, because once you apply for a CRS number or gross receipts tax ID number, you have to start filing those reports quarterly, even if you don't have money to report. But they might ask you for the business license or gross receipts tax ID number if you're applying for funding. So it would depend on your situation there. If you are going to get funding, I would say apply for them as soon as you're able to. If you're not seeking funding, you could probably wait on it. And Nancy says, okay, I live on the border of Santa Fe and Rio Arriba County. If I do online instead, I would just need my home, right? Yep. If you did online, if you did everything online or you went to visit the client, you would be fine with a business license there. But since you're probably in Santa Fe County, and if you did apply for business use of the home, you're in a rural area. I don't think you'd have as much of a problem as if you were in Santa Fe proper. So reach out to your local SBDC, see what they have to say about that. Perfect. A lot of good questions. So let's return to our slides here and keep those questions coming. We'll have time after. And I want to go over the research tools available to you at no cost and then through the SBDC. So on the screen, I have the top 4 resources that are free. The first link is a great 30-minute webinar from the SBA's website on how to write a business plan. Definitely take advantage of that. The second link is for bplans.com by Palo Alto Software. So back in the day, the Palo Alto Software used to sell the business plan templates that they had written up on a CD-ROM, and it was like $300. Now they offer them on their website for free, and they have a wealth of other business planning tools. Of course, they want to sell you a live plan software, but you don't have to buy it to take advantage of their free resources. The third link is for Census Business Builder. And this is a no-cost database that allows you to find demographic information about your customers, census stats about businesses in your industry, and estimates of yearly household expenditures in certain categories. I'm going to demonstrate that one to you, but it's available no cost to you at that link. And the last link is for the Middle Rio Grande Council of Governments. And they have an interactive traffic counts map. So if you're in the Albuquerque metro area from Bernalillo to Belen, you could look at that map to see what the traffic counts are on a certain stretch of road. If you are in another section of New Mexico, it's broken into 5 sections. The only one that has the map is the Albuquerque metro area. The other Council of Governments have the data published in a report, and you could access the reports on their website. And if you want me to demonstrate, that one's pretty neat. If you want me to demonstrate it, I will. Just put it in the Q&A. And then as part of the SBDC, as a client of the SBDC, you have access to IBIS World, Reference USA, which now calls itself Data Excel, and Demographics Now, and I'll demonstrate those for you. So the first one I want to demonstrate is Census Business Builder. Because when you're writing, not only do these databases help you find information and to make educated decisions, it also helps you fill in the business plan. So even better. So let's open up the small business edition. If you're in a metropolitan area like Albuquerque, Las Cruces, Santa Fe, the other version might be good for you. Let me open it up in Chrome. So for most of us in New Mexico, we're in rural areas. The small business edition is great. If you're in a city, the regional analyst edition is even better. So let's explore the small business edition. So first they ask you, what type of business are you in? And you have to enter that in a keyword or a NAICS code. If you are in the more popular types of businesses, retail, food service, they have little buttons you could press. Let's use restaurants. And you could search by state, metropolitan area, county, city or town, or zip code. And in the chat or the Q&A, whoever puts in a zip code, town, metropolitan area, that's the one I'll use for this example. So if you want to chat that over or put it in the Q&A, I'll go with the first one I received. Everybody's being shy today. Nobody wants me to. Oh, I got one here from Nancy. Nancy says Santa Fe. So let's look at Santa Fe. We could do Santa Fe County or Santa Fe City. Let's do Santa Fe County. And then we could create a report. You could go to the interactive map, but it takes up a lot of computer power for me. So I tend not to go to the map. I tend to go to the report. Give my computer a break. And sometimes these reports could take a long time to generate. Like if I was in Socorro County, I'd probably still be waiting for the report. So it goes over your customers, businesses like yours, and consumer spending. So first here we have the total population of Santa Fe County, demographic breakdown, median age, things like that, things that you need to consider when starting a business. Then we have socioeconomic characteristics. Here's the median household income in Santa Fe County. It looks like it's right on par with the national. It looks like it's even a little bit higher than the national average. So this would be a great place to start a storefront or restaurant. There's room for you. Then we have housing characteristics. So my tradespeople on the call, you probably want to go into an area that has expensive homes that are old. That might be a good plan for you. But you could see the average cost of a home in that area and the average age. If you were going to start an apartment building, you could see is it cheaper to buy or rent, and it's not much more to rent than to own a home in that area. So it may be a great place for a new subdivision. Then we have stats about employer businesses. This goes into, average employment per employer, 25. And remember, this is the restaurant. A lot of the categories, especially in rural areas, won't have data on this. But Santa Fe County has a lot of businesses, so that they tend to have the data on this. Albuquerque would have the data on this. Average revenue per employer. So that's 1.2 million. Non-employer firms, total number of employees and non-employees. Perfect there. Number of establishments. And then my favorite part of this report are the consumer expenditures. So if I wanted to start a business in this area and I wanted to see about how much is spent per household per year on, say, men's apparel. So the average household per year spends about $400 on men's apparel in Santa Fe County. So if I was going to offer children's, men's, or women's apparel, it's about double for women's apparel. I probably want to sell women's apparel in that area. Footwear, a great place to sell footwear. And you could compare these, do I want to start a business in Santa Fe County? Do I want to start a business in Bernalillo County? There seems to be less establishments in Santa Fe County. Maybe that's the place for me. That's the kind of data you could get from this. And if you know how many households there are in this area, probably around establishments, number of households. We could always look up the number of households, but you could multiply that number by the number of households and you could see what the market is for that area. So it might be so Santa Fe County probably has around, 60. And then we have about 3,000. We probably have maybe 10,000 households. 395.94. So it's almost a $4 million market in Santa Fe County. So that's Census Business Builder. Let me open my Q&A. Okay. Next, I want to show you our paid tools. So you have to meet with an advisor to get information from these tools. IBIS World is my favorite. The hardest part is remembering my password. I'd be so disappointed if I couldn't show you IBIS World. Let's hope it. Okay, there we go. And if somebody wants to put in the chat or the Q&A industry, so it could be restaurants, it could be online sales, something like that. Currently, I was looking at celebrity and sports agents in the US. But I'll look up whatever industry you guys select for me. just put it in the chat for Q&A and I will look it up. Oh, Margarita says chat is disabled. That's not good. Put it in the Q&A for me then. And I got one from Philip, hobby game stores. That's actually a hobby and toy stores in the US is a good one. Pauline says storage facility. I looked up that one. So storage facilities do well when the economy's bad. I'll just give you that hint now. So let's look at the PDF of hobby and toy stores in the US. Philip, if you're in the Albuquerque metro area, there's a great toy store that's been on Rio Grande Boulevard for a long time. And I'm like a kid in a toy store when I go there. So let's go over the high points of this report. So key external drivers, these are what happens in the economy that make business go up or down in this industry. So per capita disposable income, e-commerce sales, number of children aged 9 or younger, and time spent on leisure and sports. And then you have the places where you buy from, your suppliers, and then your first tier buyers. And then you might have second tier if you sold to maybe other toy stores. This will tell you what the drivers were doing between 2017 and 2022. And all the drivers were going up in this industry. Revenue in this industry between 2022 and 2027 is going to go up very slightly. So this is an industry that doesn't seem to be growing very much. Profit in this industry is going to increase 8.9%. So that's a great indicator, but this was 17 to 22. Profit margin is 6%. So that means about 6 cents out of every dollar you make in this industry goes into your business as profit. The number of businesses looks like it has no growth between 2022 and 2027. Employment's going to increase slightly in this area, and so are wages. It tells you what the largest product or service segmentations are across the United States. So if you had one of these stores, you would probably need to sell toys, hobby goods, there's other craft supplies, and then games is a very small part of it. Gives you the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and tells you who are the biggest, who owns the market in this area. So it looks like Michael's, Hobby Lobby, GameStop, and look at Walt Disney there. So there's still room for small business. There's not a big business that owns the whole market in this area. Industry performance here, you might have heard about the V-shaped recovery in the news, but it looks like this industry did very well during COVID, probably because online sales drives it. A lot of people were shopping online during that time. Tells you where this business is in the industry life cycle. And this happens to be in the maturity segment, which means you're competing with businesses that have been around 8 years or more. The sweet spot for a new business is the quality growth area or the quantity growth area. So that means that's a great time to enter this business. Maturity just means you can enter this business, but you're competing against people who've been around a long time. And businesses in the decline just means more businesses like that will open than close, or close than open. And then it tells you products again. And then my favorite part of this report is probably the markets. So if you're going to open up this game toy store, you would be after consumers aged 35 to 44. And that looks like, to me, probably new parents with young kids. And then consumers aged 65 and older, there's grandma and grandpa. Cousin Chris. So that's what an IBIS World report is. Very important for filling out your business plan and making informed decisions about a business you want to get into. Now I want to show you Reference USA, or Data XL, as it likes to be called these days. And what this database is it's like a phone book on steroids. So if you're a business catering to other businesses, or you wanted to find a list of businesses like the one you want to start, we could look over here and we search by keyword, SIC, or NAICS code. Let's do restaurants, because there's a lot of information about restaurants. And then we could search for these restaurants, say, in Santa Fe County. And we could see which ones are private businesses. And we could view the results. So if you wanted to start a restaurant in Santa Fe County, these are mainly the businesses you would be competing against. And sorry, my database is working a little slow today. And I don't have any patience, so we're going to reload. Okay, so it gives you all the privately owned restaurants in Santa Fe County, Annapurna. So say you wanted to start a restaurant similar to Annapurna. They're privately owned, they sell vegetarian food. This could give you some insights into what you should expect in your budget. So you could probably expect to make about $400,000 a year. They operate with 8 employees. You could get some good information from this database. If I were a business that, say, like our 2017 star client, Valencia Flour Mill, they sell Just Add Water sopapilla mix to restaurants. Say I wanted to find a restaurant that just sold vegetarian food in New Mexico, I could look for just those for you. But for most of you on the line, you're going to like the Consumer Lifestyles database. So I'm a real estate agent, I'm a contractor, I'm providing some sort of consulting over Zoom, and I want to contact individuals. I could do that here. So maybe we want to do the city of Belen. We only want 1 contact per household. And you could search based on 2 criteria here: estimated home income or estimated home value. If I was a tradesperson, I would want to do home value. If I'm most other service providers, I'd want to do estimated home income. And if you're a retail outlet, say you're an online, you sell women's clothes online, you'd probably want to find households with women who make 100,000 or more household income per year, because that's your target market. That's the target market from IBIS World. And then we have some lifestyle characteristics. So maybe I want to know those who are interested in women's apparel, because I sell women's clothing online, say. I could pull a list of, remember, those households in Belen with household incomes of 100,000 or more that have an interest in women's clothing. And it actually gives me names and addresses. So maybe I want to send a postcard to everybody in Belen saying, you know, I just opened up this online store, but you could come to my storefront if you want, something like that. I could say, I'm the new real estate agent in town. If you have a home you want to sell, let me know, something like that. Now you know how we get our junk mail, and that's how we get our junk mail. So this is actually a list. You can't call them or email them unless you purchase their names and information, but you could write them a postcard or a letter. And it gives you an idea of how many potential customers would I have in Belen. 234 pop up for me in the database. You could also map them. I'm not going to map them for Belen because there's only 1 zip code, but say I was in, let's change this from Belen to Albuquerque. say I wanted to start a storefront that sold women's clothes, but I would want to see a map. What zip code in Albuquerque would be the best place to start a storefront that sold women's clothes? And remember, this is a database of households with 100,000 plus income with an interest in women's clothes. So it looks like I'd want to go to 87111. I'd want to put my store right there on Tramway. Or I could put it in 122. That's Sandia Heights. 114 doesn't have that many results. It actually has 2,552. So maybe I want to put it right there in Alameda or Paseo. It just gives you, these are just some of the questions you could answer by pulling this data. So that's what I wanted to show you with the databases. Let me finish off our slideshow because I have a few more slides left. So now that we talked about how the SBDC could help you, this is how you could help the SBDC. As part of offering our services, we need your help to ensure we're around for many more years to come. So we ask that you participate in our surveys, report economic impacts because of our assistance to your local SBDC, and write letters of support to your local legislators about your experience with the SBDC. All information is kept confidential and is only reported in aggregate to our funders, the state of New Mexico, and the Small Business Administration. This slide provides contact information for SBDC programs, PTAC, IBA, and the New Mexico Tech TCA. The Procurement Technical Assistance Center is a government-funded program providing assistance to small businesses who want to sell their goods or services to the government, educational institutions, or tribal entities. The International Business Accelerator is a one-stop shop of resources for New Mexican businesses and individuals wishing to introduce their product or service into the global market. And the New Mexico Tech Technology Commercialization Accelerator offers no-cost confidential counseling regarding intellectual property. This slide continues the list of Small Business Resource Partners SCORE, or the Service Corps of Retired Executives, WEST, or the Women's Business Center program, and VBOC, the Veterans Business Outreach Center. These are some of the programs sponsored in part by the Small Business Administration. And here's contact information for your small business support team. We are funded by the SBA, and many people ask about SBA loans. So I put a link to the SBA resource guide. And my link doesn't want to work. So let me make sure I show you that resource guide. It looks like the link for the guide is not here. Okay, so here's the link for the national guide. I like it when we have our regional guides, but it looks like only the national guide is available. I chatted that out for everybody. And here's what it looks like as a PDF. And I believe on page 32. Page 32 goes over the different types of loan guarantees offered by the SBA. So they have the 7A loan and the micro loan. Those are the most common types of loans available. Then we have our contact for Shelly Brown, which SBA stands for Shelly Brown is Awesome. And she's the lender relations specialist there, so she could give you more information. And then, of course, the New Mexico Economic Development Department. So that concludes our slideshow today. Let me go back into the Q&A and make sure all the questions are answered. Antoinette asks, when meeting clients online in a different city or county, is it additional business license requirement? Or if the business extends, say, a Zoom invite, is the business conducting considered local to the business owner as if the client is coming to the business? That's right, Antoinette. If you're, say you're an attorney or a paralegal and you're providing your services, you live in Bosque Farms, but you're providing your services to somebody in Albuquerque, you would just have to get your business license in Bosque Farms and wherever your home is located. And that's getting into gray area. That's for service providers. But when you're talking about selling goods online to other places, that's where it gets complicated. And you would really have to ask a CPA for advice on that. Deanne says, hi, Christopher, I missed the portion of data Excel resources. Did you provide that link in the chat? Deanne, let me tell you, the data Excel resources are available to you. You have to make an appointment to the SBDC for that because we pay for that database and we can't provide a link to it. So you just make an appointment with your local SBDC and they could provide you that information you need. David says, how do I get access to the UNM data? David, you like the UNM databases too. How did I get access to them? I had to become an employee of UNM, or you could be a student of UNM. But if you want information from those databases that you saw on the UNM website, you could make an appointment with your local SBDC, and all of our SBDCs have access to Data Excel, IBIS World, and Demographics Now. Okay, I'm going to open it up again. If you want to raise your hand, I'm happy to unmute your mic. Okay, Margarita says you sent me a follow-up email. Good, I hope we get something scheduled soon. Our call-in listener, oh, I see dropped off, but if anybody wants to speak their question, raise their hand, I'll unmute you. If you have any more questions, put them in the Q&A. And we only have a few minutes left, but I'm happy to stay on with you for the whole time. Anybody who's doesn't have any questions is free to leave the webinar. And I don't see any hands or questions, so I will give you 2 minutes of your day back. If you, again, I sent out that follow-up email. Should you need to contact me, my contact information is on there. And remember, reach out to your local SBDC. We could help you individually on more specific topics. And then thank you from Pauline. Well, thank you for attending with me. And thank you for spending time with me today. It's been a pleasure. And I'm going to end the webinar for all. If I could find my Zoom controls. There they are.